E aí, pessoal
Hello,
do
guys
Festival Inova
from the
Clabin,
Innova Club and
como é que
Festival.
vocês estão?
How
Estamos
are
aqui
you?
para falar um
We're here to
pouquinho
talk a
de
little bit
Tech
about
Lab,
Tech Lab,
sobre
about
errar,
making
aprender,
mistakes,
sobre
learning,
inovar.
about
Meu
innovating.
nome é Fernando
My name is
Thomé,
Fernando
eu
Thomé.
trabalho
I
na
work at
Clabin há
Clabin
16
for
anos,
16 years. I'm
atualmente
currently the
coordenador do Tech
coordinator of
Lab
Tech Lab,
e estou aqui
and
junto
I'm
com a
here
presença
with
ilustre
the
do meu
distinguished presence of
parceiro
my
Daniel Fernandes, se apresenta aí.
colleague,
E aí,
Daniel
galera, tudo
Fernandes.
bem?
Hello,
Quero agradecer
guys.
muito, estou muito honrado de estar aqui,
I'm
poder
very
bater um
honored to
papo
be
com
here
você sobre esse
talking
assunto
to
que
you
eu
about the
gosto
subject that I
muito,
like so
que
much,
é o
which is
Tech
the
Lab
tech
e
lab and
inovação.
innovation.
Então, abrindo um
So
pouquinho, vamos
let's
contar a
tell
história
the
de como é que
story
nasceu o
how
Tech Lab, né,
Tech
onde ele
Lab
apareceu.
was
Acho que
created,
basicamente
how it came
a
up.
Klabin ela vem há
Basically,
120
Klabin
anos se
has been
reinventando,
reinventing itself for
sempre pensando em
120
novos
years,
modelos,
always
sempre resiliente,
reinventing the
como
models,
a gente
being
tanto fala,
resilient for such a long
e
time,
sempre com
and
um foco
always
muito
with a
grande
great
em
focus
excelência
in operational
operacional, em melhoria
excellency
contínua,
with
isso
continuous
muito
improvement. This is
presente
very present
no
in
nosso
our
DNA.
DNA.
E a
And the
empresa
company is
fortíssima,
very
né? Sempre
strong,
com um crescimento
with a
muito
very
forte,
strong growth
como business
throughout
owners
all these
todos,
years.
líder, eu acho que isso vocês sabem
Absolutely a
muito bem.
leader, as you all know.
E aí a TI,
And
num dado
IT
momento, ela trouxe uma visão
came
estratégica
up
que é
with a
importante
strategic vision.
a gente passar a inovar,
We're
a
starting
posicionar
to
também a
innovate and
empresa
position the
com um
company
olhar de novas
uh,
tecnologias,
aiming at new
a um radar do que
technologies
pode
and
vir
having in
a
sight
impactar a
what
empresa,
can impact
né?
the company.
E em meados de 2009, 2019,
And
começo de
in the beginning of
2019,
2019,
nasceu o
the
Tech
Tech Lab
Lab
was
com
created,
uma área de
an area for
experimentação de tecnologia.
experimentation
Então,
and
assim, como é que a
technology.
gente
So how
consegue
can we
procurar em
look
tecnologias no
for
mercado
technologies in the
e como
market
é que a
and
gente
how
consegue
can
trazer
we
isso para dentro da
bring it to
empresa
the
através
company
de
through
experimentação? Como é que
experimentation?
problemas,
What problems and
oportunidades a gente também consegue
opportunities,
trazer um olhar para o mercado
also with the
e procurar
vision of the
tecnologias
market
para
and bringing
suportar,
technologies to
resolver todas
support
essas
and
questões.
resolve all those issues.
É curioso
It's
pensar
curious
que
to
a gente
think
tem
that
olhar
we
para a
have a
cultura de
glance for the
inovação, né,
culture
que
of innovation
atravessa toda a
that
Klabin, e
surpasses
esse olhar
the
de
whole
cultura de
structure of
inovação, ele
Klabin,
provoca
and
nas
this
pessoas
glance provokes a lot of
expectativas, vontade, né,
expectations and wills in the
uma
people, a
visão do
vision
que
of
pode ser
what
feito
can
de
be
formas
done
diferentes,
differently.
e muitas vezes
And
esses
many times
visões vêm
those
com uma
visions comes with
perspectiva de
a
ruptura, né?
perspective
Vem
of
com uma perspectiva
rupture,
bem de
with a
inovação. E aí,
perspective
beleza. Dentro
of
das estruturas
innovation
financeiras
within
que
the
hoje
structure that we
disponíveis,
have
quais são
available
aquelas que
today.
conseguem dar
What are the ones
suporte
that can
para essas
support
expectativas de
those
inovação, para toda
expectations
a
of
cultura
innovation that
da
the
Klabin
whole
vem
culture
desenvolvendo
of
nas diferentes
Klabin
áreas de
has
negócio, né? E
been
aí vem
implemented in
com
different
essa
areas of
estrutura, né?
business?
O Tech Lab
And
como
then
estrutura
Tech Lab
capaz
is
de
this
conseguir,
structure able
em percebendo o
to
que o negócio está
realize that
imaginando,
what
né?
is this
E
business
querendo
trying
transformar
to
nessas
transform in
áreas,
its areas?
vem para poder
It
colocar
comes
as
to
provas de
put in
conceito, produtos
practice
mínimos
the
viáveis,
proof of
enfim,
concepts,
o
the
que é
minimum viable
necessário para a gente poder
products,
dizer essa
what is
ideia que o negócio
necessary
está tendo
to,
é boa,
okay, what do you need?
vai
Okay, this
arrebentar.
will be
Essa
a
aqui,
hit.
vamos decolar
We'll
com
take off
essa,
with this
ou
or
não, não
not.
é o
Maybe it's not
momento,
the
a gente não
time.
tem a
We're
maturidade
not mature enough to
necessária,
do
a
that.
gente não
We
tem
do not have
tecnologia disponível
enough
como a gente achava que
technology as we
tinha,
thought we
ou
did.
seja, como é que a gente consegue
So
pegar
how can
essas
we take those
expectativas todas que uma panela
expectations
de pressão de cultura da
coming from this
inovação
pressure pot that the
consegue
culture innovation can
criar, né?
create?
Essas expectativas que são
The
oriundas de
expectations
uma cultura
come
orientada
from
à
this culture
inovação e
oriented to
transformar
innovation
elas em
and transform it
experimentos,
into
em provas de
experiments and
conceito,
proof of
produtos mínimos viáveis, para a gente saber por onde a gente
concepts and
decora.
minimum viable
Então foi muito
products. So it was
inteligente,
very
né, essa
intelligent
visão
to
dessa
have
liderança
this
que diz, olha,
idea from the
a
management.
excelência
This is
operacional
that
nos trouxe até aqui.
operational
Para a gente continuar a
excellency
ter
brought
resultados
us here,
positivos, a
but to
gente precisa
continue to
apostar
have
na inovação.
positive
Ela que
results,
vai,
we
junto,
must
né,
place
naturalmente,
our bets
com a excelência
on
operacional, junto com a excelência
innovations.
operacional,
Along with
nos
the
permitir
operational
que a gente
excellency, this
mantenha
will
na
allow
fronteira, né,
Klabin
indo
to
super bem
be always
como
in the
veículo, né?
forefront.
E o jeito da gente
So the way for
operacionalizar
us to
isso, a estrutura
operationalize this,
necessária é o Tech
the
Lab, esse grande
structure is the
serviço
Tech Lab, the great
para
service
Klabin.
for Klabin.
O Tech
Tech
Lab, né,
Lab
Dani, ele tem
it
2 anos.
has
Eu gosto
two
muito de falar que ele é
years,
um
so maybe it
adolescente
is an
agora, é uma
adolescent right
criança
now. It's a
meio
child,
de um
maybe a
bebezinho, uma
baby
criança, né?
or a
2 anos
small
para uma empresa de
child.
120
For an
anos é muito
120 year company, this is not too long, but for technology, it's very significant. So we were able to experiment a lot. We were able to do a lot of tests and try many ideas. Some of them are very impacting. I'm not sure you remember the project Caronas or Rides, and if you can tell a little bit about this journey and how far we went. Okay, so the first project that we had and we were trying to explore was an expectation that the forestry sector had of how can we send materials, whatever they were, to the forestry modules using rides, making use of the fleet of 800 cars that Klabin has that circulate in this on roads. So we had this demand. I know that I have many cars going up and down, and those cars can place a part of a machine that has a problem in the trunk and take it for an emergency maintenance, for instance. The idea is to be able to see where those forestry modules are that need those parts, and I need to see the cars. Where are they growing from? Where are they going? And when to call these riders, these drivers, to say, "Oh, friend, can you take this piece or this part?" This was a very simple idea and genius idea, right? Yeah, it was genius. There was no way to get it wrong, right? It was so simple. So we sat down to talk to the users, sat down to talk with the people who were asking for parts and those who were in the modules that had a cost of the transporting company to take one part from place A to place B. We talked to everyone. Everyone said, wow, this idea is great. And we start to execute it, put it in practice. And in theory, it is beautiful, but not in practice. And in the end, we realized that the culture was not ready in the company. So people were trained up till then not to give rights. We don't give rights in Klabin. We have this culture of not giving rights to anyone and to anything. I know that the project failed miserably, but in a certain moment we were testing in the middle of the forest. 4 people that never went through the forest going to the forestry module is a little bit disturbing, driving without knowing where to go. And it gives us this idea. We can take this idea from Carona's project, the Project Ride, and do a forest ways. When we got into the forest for the first time, it was a cloudy day. It had rained. Recently, the floor was very muddy. And it was a very challenging environment for 4 city guys that were not used to walking in the forest. And we saw that the indications of where you should go were small signs. If one of those signs fall down, I'm stuck here in the forest, lost forever. It's a little bit disturbing. Yes. And this project also failed miserably because we thought that people were going to use it, but they know how to drive through the forest, or they simply use the signs. And it was another idea that failed, but there's no problem because when you have this mindset of failing, where failing is normal, and you learn from that, there's no problem if you fail. So once again, we take the hook from what was developed, and someone from forestry logistics said, oh, I believe this can be applied to us. Maybe we can put it in the trucks. And we already have the knowledge from Carona's project of where the forestry modules are. And with this forest ways, we have the knowledge of the roads. So we can develop the algorithm because this is also important. The scale of Klabin, how much territory we have, it's absurd. And the amount of roads is huge. And it is not available on Google Maps. You won't see Klabin's roads on Google Maps. It's even a security issue. So it's not available for anyone to ride in. So there was a property that had to be well built with using technology to help people like us us to navigate through the forest, but people like us do not navigate through the forest without a support structure. So we had this technology. We knew where the nodules were. So we got those two technologies together to take it to logistics. And once we got into logistics, those two technologies mixed with other things that went in, it was a hit. And the aggregation of value that we had with the economy of fuel, with the new ordering of the trucks, with the organization of the speed of the trucks, not to generate traffic jams with the convoys, all the problems that we have, the visibility for the truck driver. He also uses the sign, and sometimes they don't know how to navigate through these forests. All that made us able to provoke an economy, create an economy in Klabin much superior than the amount that would be generated either through the rights project or because some part broke down in some kind of machine, or taking people to get to know what was going on in the forest, which were the two original ideas of the original Place and Caronas project, both spelled with a K as an initial. And this bring us the idea that not only the project, but the impact that it had in the culture and forestry logistics, because we started to exercise innovation. And then people ended up liking this experience because it questioned what was already there. And the number of initiatives took off. And you talked about working with the diesel, the schedule of the trucks, convoys, a number of things. And now we're working with flatbed trucks. So the number of projects went up, and it's a new approach of how to solve problems. And I believe this is a very rich process because we do not go in to get it right. We get in to learn, and learning makes us able to have success and add value. And it's curious, we're talking about a very large project that became Place, and then it became Place Truck. All this path until we reach rupture. But we also have small projects that we put in service in 3.5 hours, such as our Klabin Health, which was a solution for us to be able to monitor how was the contamination due to COVID-19 in the production units of Klabin. And with this information, we were able to extrapolate to see what was the impact in the productive units in the short and middle terms. So, okay, the speed of contamination is this, and I understand that in 3 days, it will be very bad. I will have to take people from this area and take it to another area because this area would stop. When we were able to give this visibility so that we could plan and find the right way so that no unit would stop, we understood that it's not the size of the project that is directly proportional to the size of impact. There are small projects that have a huge impact. And this is also a beauty of innovation. It's not a project that where the more money you put in, the more return you have. No, not necessarily. Sometimes it's a great idea that once operationalized in a simple way, but in a very pragmatic way, oriented to action, generates rupture and makes us able to transcend. The perspective, Daniel, is very interesting for 2021. We have a very fast pace in Tech Lab. We have 20 initiatives with a very small crew. We were practically an innovation boutique because it's a very small crew. But now we have 20 initiatives ongoing. And excluding what we already had in 2019, and we go from complex algorithms to solve complex issues. We're researching technologies for credit operations with Tanya, our colleague from credit operations. And there is a project that is in my heart, that it's this one connected to the great strategy of Klabin for 2030. What we call Klabric is a nickname, which is to scale up the service to hold the whole forest. The essence of Klabric is how can we bring those different timber producers that serve us and give us enough inputs, raw materials, so that we can work, how to bring them closer to us. So using digital tools to have a relationship with those such important stakeholders, and with not only a relationship but also a service. They know they will know what is being done in their land, what is the benefit of this relationship, what has already been paid, what will be paid, so that we can have them close to us and have a perpetuity, to have a perennial situation, always having the woods and be able to plan. Due to the demand that we have, the e-commerce, due to the pandemic, went up, took off, and the demand for paper in the world is huge. And so how can we create such a big forest to supply this demand for paper? And this is the beauty. So how can a digital platform cause this impact? How can we create services for these great forestry producers? How can we connect monitoring services with what we call Forest 4.0, so that we can scale up this service. Paraná is a huge state, Santa Catarina as well. So how can we scale up the services and create and generate this timber stock that Klabin needs until 2030. This is the great challenge for Tech Lab in 2021. I know that this will continue throughout the next years. And Tech Lab had to get ready to be able to attend this, right? And at home, we have this huge challenges at home, huge 20 projects ongoing at the same time with such important strategy. And to be successful, we have to do our homework at home. So we have three groups that we look at, and we're continually discussing processes, examining new practices, thinking about the crew. So there are three great initiatives that we're always paying attention to. One of them more oriented to proof of concepts and minimal viable products. So if there is a nice idea for an area, we have to talk to the users. We'll create the MVPs and the POCs so that we have an evidence that this will work and generate a nice impact. We have another area that once the risk of innovation is somehow mitigated, we have an evidence that there will be a nice impact. The risk will always be present, but a smaller one. And then we go into an investment in technology that will help me to scale up, that will be integrated with the IT of Klabin. So innovation. And the third one is the outside our home. We have a great team, a very intelligent crew, but there are many people outside that are very intelligent and successful. They have great solutions. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. So a tech lab has a glance of engineering for this innovation that comes from the outside. So we have Klabin, entire Klabin looks at innovation. This is well disseminated in the company. Our contribution is how can we take advantage of all this intelligence outside through a bias of engineering. How can we do stuff the best way possible? What is this technology this startup has that we can use? How can we use open innovation? So we have those three glances, POCs and MVPs, digital projects for innovations, and open innovation, that we are structured so that we can attend to all those objectives that Thomé mentions. To conclude, we talked about a lot of things. In 2 years, we did a lot of things. It's very nice to hear and to talk and realize that at this moment. So I would like to thank for this space. I'd like to thank Renata, for the great idealizer of this event, for granting us this space so that we can talk a little bit about Tech Lab. Dani, do you want to say your farewell? Yes, I'd like to thank you very much. It's great to have this exchange of ideas, to have this structure that was able to create such nice results. Use the Tech Lab for anything that you imagine, and thank you very much for your time here in this talk. Okay, guys, thank you. See you later. Enjoy the festival.